According to the last GSS study, about 20% of married people will cheat in their lifetime, and that goes for men and women. It's probably a little bit higher since folks don't always admit it. Even on surveys, they're not totally honest, but it's about 1 in 5. In this episode, I'm going to talk about why people cheat. I'm going to talk about, generally speaking, why people cheat, and then I'm going to break it down by men versus women, because men do act a little differently when it comes to affairs and infidelity as opposed to women. Don't shoot the messenger. These are just the things that I've learned after talking to hundreds of people one-on-one in coaching and thousands of people online, not to mention my personal experience after 47 years on this planet. Do I like this kind of stuff? No, I don't. But it is something that we need to talk about, and we need to be aware of these things so that we can avoid them. I don't have a whole lot of respect for cheaters, but I understand why it happens. A lot of people think this is just an evolutionary thing where human beings aren't meant to be with just one person during their lifetime or throughout their entire lifetime. I disagree. I know plenty of people that have gone their whole life just with one person. As a matter of fact, they're the majority. The minority of people are the ones that actually cheat. And the number one rule when it comes to cheating is happy couples don't cheat. Unhappy couples are typically the ones that will cheat on each other. I want you to be in the happy couple category. That's what my content's all about, but we need to talk about the bad stuff. Now, understand, everyone experiences attraction. A guy will walk down the street, he'll see a beautiful woman, he'll recognize the beauty. That's just part of life. The same thing goes for ladies. They'll see somebody on TV, they'll see somebody walking down the street, they will see an attractive dude. There's nothing wrong with that. The difference between the attraction and acting on it, that's what we want to talk about. Who are the people that act on it? Why do they do that? So the difference between people that do cheat and the people that don't, they have resistance to that attraction. They'll see a beautiful person walking down the street, they won't act on it. And if you think everyone cheats, I see that kind of stuff in my comment section quite often. Happy couples don't cheat. I see a lot of people in my day-to-day life that are very, very happy, but they're typically not going to be the people that are going to be seeking advice online. Catch my drift? You're going to hear about the bad stuff way more if you live your life online, especially when it comes to marriage. So let's talk about the first category, which is the unisex, the men and women. The commonalities between the two when it comes to cheating, why they cheat. Number one is they're unhappy in the current marriage, whether that be sexually, non-supportive spouse, abuse, addict, depression, all of those things apply. Generally speaking, men and women will cheat on each other when they're not sexually satisfied. That goes for men and women. That's a universal trait, whether it be a boring bed, a dead bed, which is defined by sex less than once a month in a year, or if a husband or a wife refuses sex, constantly shoots them down, that's going to push somebody into somebody else's arms. I've seen it over and over. But when it comes to boring beds, monotony, routine, a lot of that kind of stuff over time can result in cheating. Will it result in cheating? Not all the time. If they're unhappy in the current marriage, that's a major risk factor. Now, understand when it comes to marriage and really dating and relationships, generally speaking, broken people have a tendency to attract other broken people. Usually broken people, they're going to have lack of boundaries. They're not going to be good at setting boundaries, and they're not going to be good at enforcing boundaries. Many people online, people that I've talked to, people that I see constantly seeking advice, they just don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. They don't know how to stand up for themselves or even just initially set the boundaries, what is tolerated and what will not be tolerated in a relationship. Another common thing that I see in people that I've talked to is the partner has let themselves go physically. That has a tendency to affect men more than women, but it happens for both sexes. If you lose physical attraction to your spouse, it is very difficult to get it back. It is very important to feel attracted to your partner, okay? Especially initially, but as time goes on, this becomes more of a factor, especially when you start having kids. People are going to start getting comfortable. They're going to start eating out a lot and not exactly going to the gym a lot, and they'll let themselves go physically, and physical attraction can suffer. Sorry, not sorry. The monotony of married life, especially after kids, can cause somebody to be unhappy in a relationship and seek attention from someone else. You're going to be raising kids. You feel like every day is the same. You wake up, you go to work, you eat, and you go to sleep. Rinse and repeat every day. It's going to have a tendency to make people depressed, especially if you're prone to that kind of thing. And you're going to seek outside validation. And some people, unfortunately, act on that as opposed to working it out with their spouse. So that's just generally speaking. That goes for men and women. Now let's break it down for men. Why do men cheat? For men, it's 90% about being sexually unfulfilled. Men really are that simple, ladies. Lack of communication, creativity in the bedroom. A lot of guys have a tendency to not speak up about what they want. That goes for women too, but men, if they feel very sexually ignored, they'll have a tendency to have wandering eyes. One critical thing to understand, ladies, is men use sex to connect more than women do. Women do the same thing, but it's very, very important for a man. When it comes to sex in a marriage, it's not about just getting off to your husband. What it is that is the way that they feel connected to you. If they aren't sexual with their wife, they have a tendency to lose connection. Many times, it can be just as simple as some sexual acts aren't played out. The wife isn't into what he wants, and he doesn't speak up. She doesn't compromise. Example, lingerie, oral sex. They have a tendency to not really speak up on what they really want. And when they're not getting it, they feel less connected, and wandering eyes happen. Another critical thing when it comes to guys, especially as we get older, some guys don't exactly have the best luck with women in early life. They may become a little bit more attractive to ladies, and they'll have opportunities when they didn't have them before. They develop into a decent human being. They become a boss. They become financially stable. They become more attracted to women. And if they're not happy in their current marriage and they're in a dead bed, it's boring, that's going to be a problem for some guys. Now, opportunity mixed with the I missed out or the FOMO attitude will create problems in a marriage. And they have a tendency to drift off. Another common thing I see in guys is low self-esteem, especially those with childhood trauma / baggage. Some guys are going to have it all. This is your CEO types, the people that you see with the beautiful wife, beautiful family, beautiful home. They've got it all, but yet they cheat. And you wonder why. And it's really just because it's never enough for guys like that. I've talked to more than one guy that's just like that, who's a serial cheater. And it really just comes down to the childhood baggage that's unresolved. And they just don't know what a healthy relationship looks like again. Affairs to a guy like that are going to boost their ego, but it's short term. That's the key. If the self-esteem is a problem, it's going to be a problem long term if you don't deal with it. So those are guys. Let's talk about the ladies now. For women, it's more about being emotionally unfulfilled as opposed to sexually. Now, it can go both ways. Don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, when women feel emotionally unfulfilled and unhappy in a marriage, that's when wandering eyes happen. They start losing attraction and they start looking for options, especially when it comes to emotionally inept or avoidant kind of guys. They're at high risk for female infidelity. These are your kind of guys that are emotionally unavailable. They're good dudes, they're good husbands, they're good dads, but they just don't take care of the wife emotionally. They have a tendency to not be romantic. They don't go out on dates. They don't make an effort because they just assume the wife is going to be around. That is the number one thing when it comes to ladies: emotional unfulfillment. Now, another thing that I see quite often in female infidelity is newfound confidence, especially from drastic weight loss or cosmetic surgery, especially one particular age group, 40 to 45-year-old women. They have a tendency to have a crisis of identity at that point. Guys get a bad rep when it comes to midlife crises, but it happens in ladies too. It's a huge deal. It's made worse by any big changes in life. So if there's a family death, new job, loss of weight, like I said, or the cosmetic surgery, anything big in their life that may be traumatic, may not be, just a big life event, they're not happy in that marriage, they have a tendency to drift off. The common thing that you hear from ladies like this is, quote unquote, I want to feel alive again, or I needed to feel alive again. Those are the things you hear from these kind of ladies. It's a crisis of identity. It really is. And it happens very commonly right around age 40. Another very common one that I see quite often in ladies is when the husband loses his job, or he loses his drive to be just a better guy, to be successful, to just get up in the morning and kick ass. If a guy loses that drive over time, ladies have a tendency to lose attraction. Does that sound fair? Not really. But these are just the things that I've seen, and the truth hurts. Another common thing that I see in ladies is revenge affairs. What that is the husband will have an affair or an emotional affair, or get involved with another lady, and she'll step out as revenge. When it comes to revenge affairs, men have a tendency to talk about it, but it's really just empty threats. Women, it's much more easy to have a revenge affair because all they have to do is ask. They can just walk down the street and and ask a dude if they want to have some fun. And guys can't do that. So revenge affairs are very, very common in ladies. It's not as common in guys, mainly because it's just more difficult. So there you have it. Take it or leave it. I know this is going to probably rub some people the wrong way. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Most people are not very open about this subject because obviously this kind of stuff ruins lives, and I have no respect for cheaters. And if you are in a situation where you're unhappy, you need to say something and work on it. That's what I'm doing here. I want you to be happy. Happy couples don't cheat. It's the unhappy couples that have a tendency to step out on each other. I want you to be in the former category, okay? I want you to be happy. That's what I'm here for. That's what my content is designed to do. Stick around. Leave a comment below if you've been through something like this. If I'm rubbing you the wrong way, I'd love to hear about it. If you like this content, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate everybody that's done that already. And until next time, be better than you were yesterday and be desirable.